Today's video is a little bit more special than the other ones because if I remember correctly, my sister prepared 2 books for me for the month of September. I think she said I would be starting school, I would have a lot of time. I'm not starting school because I'm figuring my life out. But today we're gonna open both of them. I'm gonna have to cheat a little, I think, because I'm gonna have to look into the first book, for the password for the second one, but we'll make it work. Hi, my name is Kristy and welcome back to the series 12 months, 12 books that I started back in January, and now we're already in September. How crazy is that? I'm sorry I sound a little bit sick just because I was, but time is up and I need to film the next part of the series. Without further ado, let's look at the book of August, which was The House on the Lagoon. The House on the Lagoon by Rosario Ferre is a sweeping multi-generational novel that explores the complexities of family, power, and identity of Puerto Rico. Told through the intertwined perspectives of a husband and wife, the story traces the rise and struggles of a wealthy family while reflecting on the island's shifting political and cultural landscape. Blending personal histories with broader social commentary, the novel examines themes of love, betrayal, tradition, and change. With lyrical prose and layered storytelling, The House on the Lagoon offers a rich portrait of relationships and the forces that shape them across time. And listen, this book was difficult for me to read because I didn't get into it at all. I'm gonna try to explain how it is constructed, let's say. So there's this main character, Isabel, who is telling the whole story. She is the wife of Quentin, which is another POV that we get from time to time. Like very rarely after every, I don't know, let's say 5 chapters maybe, that tells Isabel. And so she's telling the history of this big family. There is even a family tree at the beginning of the book. So this is the family tree that I took a look at before I started reading. However, I think the problem was that I was reading this book on my Kindle and not like a physical copy, because then I didn't want to keep going back to the family tree to, just click back and try to find it, because in the chapters it doesn't show like chapter family tree that I could just click onto right away. And then I just had to always like go back to the beginning of the book and then click until I would get to the family tree. So that for me, it was very annoying. I mean, I know it's just like a lazy thing, but I think that if I had a physical copy, I would just, like switch back to the beginning. Maybe I would even put a bookmark, and whenever I would need to, I would just go back and take a look, because it was just about so many people. Just in the family tree, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 people. And so, I mean, I think even more, but I think it didn't even fit on here. Anyways, so there's at least 22 people. Like, try to remember all of them, who's connected to who and how. Whenever Isabel was like talking about someone and mentioning some names, I was like, who is that? How is this relevant? So that was one very difficult thing for me, and since I didn't understand who we're talking about, who we're getting the information about, I was kind of bored. And then also she mentioned even more people, like this friend of this person, this friend of this person. Like, it was just too much going on. And I think if you watch my videos about books, you probably know that I'm not a huge fan of stories where there's a lot of people, or when it's just like messy and not clearly explained. I don't know, maybe it's just my problem. I don't like when I can't orient myself within the characters and then just don't know what's going on. So this was issue number 1. Issue number 2, since I think this can be considered like a historical novel or historical fiction, I did not know enough facts, enough information about the history of Puerto Rico. I know some basic things because I had a classmate who is Puerto Rican, but obviously like I know far from enough to be able to understand. And from my personal view, in the book it wasn't as clear, or like the facts were being kind of presented in a way of the story, but I think for me it was just not enough to get the big picture and understand it well. But maybe I'm just dumb, who knows. And then issue number 3 was that it took me some time to understand, well, first of all, to figure out who is telling the story and what is the position of that person in the family, and then to figure out that Quentin is her husband and that he's like, that is basically his POV. I mean, I know it's set there like Quentin. But the thing is that Isabel is like telling the story, but she's writing a manuscript, and then her husband finds the first few chapters and he starts reading it, and then there's this like kind of fun dynamic, to be honest. First, Isabel doesn't know, he keeps reading, he gets like mad because apparently Isabel is like playing with the facts and apparently it's not accurate. That's what Quentin tells us. And so then sometimes he would rewrite the chapters or like change the facts, telling us how it really was, how it really happened. But by then I didn't remember what Isabel was saying because we were like 5 chapters past that story. So it was just, I don't know. For me, it was a strange structure. Very interesting. I think I've never seen it before, but confusing. Since I wasn't reading it all at once, I was basically having to force myself to continue. I kept forgetting some things and I wasn't really like in it. Once again, maybe I would have left it as like DNF, like did not finish, but I was like, I'm doing this series, I want to finish it. And again, like that's why I always tend to finish books, because I'm like, what if there's a huge point at the end? But unfortunately, I mean, it kind of escalated at the end, but it wasn't like, I was a little bit disappointed. That's maybe how I would put it. Let's take a look at some quotes. I'm sure I highlighted one because I think from the last book, I don't remember, I was very shocked that I had no highlights, but I'm pretty sure I have at least one. I have 2 actually. Well, wow. One from August 7th and one from 4 days ago, because it took me the whole month to force myself to read it. The first one says, his mother and father had been happy and unhappy together, as is usually true of any marriage. And the second one is, believing in something made you think. It kept your spirit alive. As always, let's take a look on the flash drive. The rating out of 5, maybe a 2. I don't know. I see that I put 2 to the Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fly, which was the book of March, but I think it was a little bit better than that, because to some extent I was entertained, but I think more towards the end when I kind of got the hang of who's who, at least a little bit, and then we were getting, closer to the main characters, because Isabel was starting from really like the extended family and their relatives and whatever, and then later on, or actually towards the end of the book, we were getting to her herself, and then also her sons. Let's do 2.5. Now, for the password, the last chapter is chapter 45, A Whirlpool of Shadows. I was thinking about this when I was reading. The first book of the last chapter is Willie's, like as of his, William's, and I don't know if that works with like apostrophe and stuff. It doesn't. Let's do without Willie. Oh, how do I do this? It is not working as expected. I don't know what to do. It's not working. I'm gonna go call my sister because I don't know how to get in.
Ano?
One hour later.
I am back. That's how it goes. Sister calls. Anyways, I asked her how to get in. She told me, or she asked me like if there's any other kind of like chapter distinction maybe. And I realized there is, because the book is split into 8 parts. Each part has subchapters. I clicked on the part 8 and the first word of that chapter was the. Now, I think I'm gonna open the book. I can't. I have to transform the format again and just look for the password. Or do I maybe I react first? I really want a book which I will know and haven't read yet.
Because I'm kind of getting tired of just being surprised and not having any expectations, and then sometimes being disappointed. You know what I mean?
What is the book for? September. Okay. I'm kind of excited, to be honest. Now, let's search for the last chapter. That is chapter 43. And guess what the password is? The. This is kind of exciting. I could do 2 new books at once. So, okay, I'm gonna put the books into my Kobo and then explain the whole thing. I'm getting excited. My Kobo is updating. You have to wait a little bit longer, but I want to tell you already. We're back. The book of September is A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness, the New York Times bestseller, and the extra book, Shadow of Night by, surprise, surprise, the author of the New York Times bestseller, A Discovery of Witches. We have a duology here in my hands. I don't know, the book covers are getting me like really, really excited. Again, I don't know these books, have no idea what they're about. I mean, I'm gonna guess it's about witches. I assume it's going to be fantasy, which is all my best friend talks about these days because she is the person who reads like ACOTAR, Throne of Glass, all the books like this, and I haven't had really time to start yet and look into this romantasy genre, so I am kind of excited. I have a feeling this is gonna be good. Let's put it into my beautiful folder. A Discovery of Witches. The second one is called Shadow of Night. Night. The author is this a trilogy? Because on the screen, you can see that the bracket of author is connected or like merged for all three books. The one of September, the extra one, and of October. So I'm thinking this is a trilogy. Maybe I just cracked the code. Well, then I hope that the trilogy is good, because if I don't like it and I have to read 3 books of the series, it's gonna be even worse than the book that I gave the rating 0, which was Spring Fever by P.G. Woodhouse. Deborah Harkness. I want to know where she's from. Oh, her dad is from the US and her mom is from Great Britain. I guess this is it. I don't know. I have a good feeling about this after some time. It doesn't matter. I just really want something really good that I would be consumed by and excited about, and I hope that I'm getting that. So let's not make this video any longer. Thank you for watching. As always, you can read with me. You can tell me all about your readings, about your books in the comments. I would love to see some of your thoughts. We can chat a little bit. If you want, you can like this video and subscribe, because as you probably heard from other creators, it helps the algorithm. Ugh, I can't even say it. It helps the algorithm and yada yada yada. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.